right, so we're getting close to our number of 30 folks for this morning's meeting. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Again, welcome to the weekly meeting of the Tacoma-Pierce County Coalition to End Homelessness. Rosemary, would you like to get us started?
Thank you, Rob. Welcome everyone. And today we meet in our virtual space as the temperatures rise outside, where too many residents of Pierce County have no respite from this heat. Some of you have just come here directly from a daily county briefing, and we may be waiting for some of you, where you're responding to the life-threatening need for water for our neighbors living in tents and cars outdoors. I want to thank you for that work. We acknowledge that we gather on the traditional homelands of the Puyallup tribe, who have lived on and stewarded these lands since the beginning of time and continue to do so today. Their connections to the land and waters offer wise teachings for us today if we will listen. This morning, given the heat, I've been thinking about three words: heat, water, and connection. I thought about how much our human bodies are made up of water, and of the small range of temperature and dehydration we mammal creatures can endure without serious physical consequences. I know that 85 degrees in Tacoma, outdoors in the sun, is an emergency for those not acclimated to temperatures that high. I thought about the global heat emergency with the warnings about climate change, the persistent reminder of Native peoples that water is life, and that gas pipelines and tar sands are cause for alarm. All the emergencies feel connected, and I can go from 0 to 60 in a few seconds in my mind, relating today's heat to the interlocking systems of oppression that feminist bell hooks relates as white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. I'm certainly willing to go down that road of thought and action with anyone who wants to join me, but today I want to briefly recognize and encourage our human connection. We are more likely to make it through if we do it together. We have to challenge things as they are. We can and must do better. We know we can mobilize to distribute water, the stuff of life, as often as the temperature sends its alarm. The realities of homelessness, what we are pledged here to end, are heartbreaking. But broken hearts can lead to real connection. As poet Mary Oliver says, "I tell you this to break your heart," by which I mean only that it break open and never close again to the rest of the world. Today, where we can, we join the Water Brigade. So welcome everyone. I use this time each week just to let folks who are new know how we operate here, and welcome you, Jesse, for your early question about that. We ask people to keep themselves on mute when they're not speaking, to turn off their video if they're doing other activities, except I suppose drinking your cup of coffee, anything that might be distracting, and that we ask people to use the raise hand symbol whenever you would like to be recognized. We also use the chat very extensively during this time as a way to connect with one another. So it's a conversation place. We encourage it to happen. Leave contact information there. If you don't get a chance to ask a question you would have liked to have answered, ask it there, and somebody will chime in and give you some answer that will be probably as close to the mark as any of us would do. So use that as much as you can. And then regarding the norms we have about how we interact with one another, this is a space for 50 to 80 people joining together. So we want to share the time with some equity. And so if you speak often, at sometimes hold back a bit. If you have something to say and wonder if it's valuable, try out the chat or just try out an opportunity to speak. We really want to get to know you. So with those, what I'd like to do now is, for those of you who are new to our group or who are returning after some time away, to just raise your hand to be recognized, and then just say who you are, your name, and any association you have with a group or organization or activity. This is not a time for a long introduction. We'll have opportunities to talk with one another during the session. So Jesse, I see your hand. Go right ahead, Jesse. Okay.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Yes, I'm Jesse Torres with Clean the World Foundation. I would be discussing our services of wash stations here in a little while. Thank you.
Welcome, Jesse. We're very glad to have you.
Thanks.
Ariana?
Hi, I'm Ariana. I work with homeless outreach with Comprehensive Life Resources.
Very important work. We're really glad to have you too. All right, Ali?
Hi, my name is Allie. I'm with Early Head Start Home Visiting Program in Pierce County, and we are working to recruit and enroll more homeless families.
Excellent. Very glad to have you too. And Dorothy?
Hi, good morning. My name is Dorothy Felton. I'm new with Inside Passages. I'm one of their new navigators.
Well, that's a great group. We're glad to have you here too. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, Bob. You're still on mute, I guess. There you are. Do you have your mute off, Bob? I can't hear you.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Bob Warfield, Liquid Community Foundation Fund. Good morning to all.
Thank you for joining us. Welcome. All right, I think that's, do you see anyone else, Rob?
Sorry.
No, I'm just asking Rob if.
Did you call on Dorothy?
Yes, Dorothy's, yes,
I don't see anyone else.
Okay, and I see our council member Ryan Mello with us today. Welcome, Ryan. I'm just glad to have you come whenever you can. It's wonderful to have you here too. So I'll turn it back to you, Rob.
All right. So thank you again, Rosemary, for getting us started this morning, and a few words of inspiration. Let's start with our regular topic that we do every week, and this is going to be likely a conversation that will be focused a lot on the hot weather response that's been happening throughout this week, and that will need to continue to happen through the weekend. You may be aware that the forecasters have extended the heat warning through Sunday now. Temperatures are predicted to be somewhere between 90 and 93 on Sunday before we start to cool down on Monday. So as Rosemary said, a number of us were over in a meeting with Pierce County led by Pierce County Human Services staff that has been happening every morning to try to direct understand where outreach teams are going and where water needs to be addressed in different parts of the county, and just coordinate getting the water to the outreach workers and folks. So for the This Week on the Streets segment this week, let's talk a little bit about the outreach effort, what folks are doing, where folks are seeing needs, and how folks are holding up in this heat. So I give the floor. Please use the raise hand function or wave your hand if you're on camera, and I'll call on you. And let's get started with Teresa.
Hi, I just want to give the good news that Pierce Transit has extended their free bus rides to the end of day on Sunday. So I've updated the little 4-up flyer that I made. I'm going to post it in the chat, and please get it out to people. The weekend is not going to have nearly as much. I guess county staff is a real question whether or not there will be anyone to contact, but I'm hoping Jan will. Don't know if Jan's here yet, but she has agreed to be a contact person if people run into an issue over the weekend when there isn't county staff. So anyway, it's been going well. I do recommend, if you're taking out cases of water, that you distribute them throughout the camp instead of stacking them all together, because stacking them all together has had some get thrown in trunks of cars, which is not always a bad thing, because the people with those cars probably need water. But if you want it to stay in the camp, I just recommend that you place them throughout the camp instead of in a big stack. Thanks.
Thank you, Teresa. And just so you know, Jan is on screen. The folks from the EOC are at their super long table on screen there. And we will, yeah, and Jan is frantically waving her arms. And we'll get to that, get to Jan and the folks at the EOC here momentarily. But Jeffrey, you have your hands up.
Good morning, everyone. I can say that yesterday was a busy one for me. I took out delivered 40 cases of water, found a couple of new sites down off of Puyallup Avenue, Center Street across from Tacoma Screw. Turned out to be a much larger camp than it appears from the street. And 35th and Pacific is doing well. What I have found is about 5 bottles per day per person seems to be about, that should be the figure that you're going to, if you're doing outreach and dropping off water. Factor about 5 bottles per day per person. That's what I've been finding all week. That seems to be what works. So I'll be out again today, and I will be out again tomorrow. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer some. And if you have been thinking about doing some outreach and haven't done it before, consider doing it. There's some wonderful people out there. They just need a little bit of help. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. So the folks at the EOC, did you still want to say something?
Oh, yes, Rob, you know, I have a lot to say.
Always.
Thank you. I think that was positive. So let me kind of give you kind of a report. Mine is kind of commingled with our general briefing from the EOC and what we as a liaison group have been doing. So as a liaison group, we were able to get the EOC to provide 6 pallets of water, and that has all been delivered to the Nourish warehouse. Pretty much we've been staying up with all the requests people need for water. What I shared in the meeting this morning is that I'll be contacting 4 to maybe half a dozen locations and saying how much water they need for over the weekend. And so I'll do that right after this meeting, because what we want to do is get the water delivered today for the weekend. Even if you overestimate, that's fine, because we have water in the warehouse. Okay, so that's the water side of it. Basically, between us and the EOC, or basically the EOC, there was 31,640 bottles acquired, and 27,920 bottles have been deployed. That's a lot of sticking water. But when I say that, then I got a positive response from the emergency departments. They were asked if they're being overwhelmed with anything related to the heat, and they said no. Has any of the emergency departments been on divert because of the heat? And everybody said no. One of the things that came out of the conversations was that it is their belief that all the work being done by cooling centers, the outreach workers to the unsheltered population is keeping this count significantly down from last time. Great, great job. So the next thing I'm sure that people will be asking, we are in some of you might know the term demobilization. Demobilization is when you start ramping down. And so end of business today at the EOC, they will be demobilizing. They will have the cooling centers through the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Well, right now, Saturday from 12 to 8. Some of the problem is staffing. And with the cooling centers, they're not having a lot of people going there. So they're going to be making that assessment today. So I might be able to put something out on the listserv, let everybody know if that was changed or whatever. Ourselves, if you call us the liaison group, basically we'll be done today. And so anything that happens over the weekend that people need water, I want to be real clear, water, okay? If it's a county issue, it's not Jan, okay? It's water, okay? If you need more water, Jan and Mike, Jan's a dispatcher, Mike is the driver, and they will get you more water if you need it. Again, I'm saying that we have plenty of water at the warehouse. And so I want to try to get this ahead of the game by today, but you know, if you happen to double up today or whatever and you need water tomorrow, let Jan know, we'll get it delivered to you. So that is my report. Ed has been working with a lot of the fire departments, and the fire departments are acquiring water for their units so that they can pass it out. TFD has got a lot of water. West Pierce Fire has got a lot of water. We're checking with East Pierce and South Pierce to see where they're at. Central. In Central. So that's kind of our report.
Great. Thank you, Mike. And thanks so much to Ed, Mike, and Jan for being at the Emergency Operations Center this week during the heat. It's great to have folks right there at the ground level. So let's see. I got a couple other hands up. Kathy, your hand's up. And there you go.
Yeah, I was trying frantically to unmute. I'm telling you, we got to get t-shirts that say you're on mute. Anyways, my question was for Jeffrey and or Richard, anyone who goes out. We hear water, 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 but I'm stuck here at home without transportation. So is there anything that those of us who can't get out and distribute water or go buy cases of water, is there anything that we can do to support that effort, that specific effort?
Part of what I was thinking about was one of the things, if we're handing out all these plastic bottles, I sure hope that everyone is handing out garbage bags to go with them. It's something that stays in my truck all the time. So kind of, I guess, rounding up those kind of supplies for the outreach people would be a great thing.
Thank you for that, Jeffrey. Yeah, I was thinking of that too. With 27,000 bottles of water, that's 27,000 pieces of plastic.
Right.
What I'm asking is not what supplies are needed, but what can we do if we're not able to go to the store and buy water and garbage bags and bring them to one of you that's doing outreach? Is there somewhere that we can make a contribution, like a monetary contribution? That's what I'm asking, because I would really like to be able to do something, but I'm not going to be able to carry cases of water on the #1 bus.
Well, we have a lot of nonprofits that are part of the coalition, a lot of them. And I would say whichever one speaks to your heart, that's the one you would want to donate to. There's just a lot of good and smaller nonprofits that could use some help.
Yeah, and I would echo that. We don't currently have a donation option on the coalition website. We have done that at sometimes in the past for specific things. The good thing right now is that the county and the city are making much of the water available, as well as nonprofits like the Emergency Food Network. making water available. So I do know there have been some folks like Richard who have had individuals dropping off water on his porch for distribution, but yeah, I would second that it's a good idea to support some of the nonprofits who are participants in the coalition and go from there. So Anne, I see your hand up next. And
Okay,
you're
here we
mute.
go.
There you go.
So thank you to all those who are passing out the water, because with the wonderful tutelage of my supervisor, Lisa, we had gone out and were able to pass out some water as time permits. And it was a really good experience. She and I both felt really good about that. And one thing that I wanted to know is that water is, we're getting it out there, and it's very, very well appreciated. There's a thank you from everybody. My question is that, is there ever the ability to pass out bags of ice? Because there are some styrofoam coolers out there, and because of the hot weather, if you were to take washcloths of cold ice water to your face, or wipe down and keep those bottles of water cold, I think that that would be a real godsend as well. Is there an ability to get bags of ice to people?
Well, I do know some folks have been doing something similar. I know Teresa and others have been freezing water bottles and actually getting frozen water bottles to people.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of a 2-for-1 approach, but I do think anything that can be done to help cool people down is definitely appreciated.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Courtney, your hand's up.
Thank you. I went and delivered water with a friend a couple days, and then another, Cynthia from the coalition in Gig Harbor, and I think we did pretty well. We were hitting mostly singles and some small encampments along the way. I've been keeping touch with the 11th Street Bridge community. They, we hear that fences will be going up Tuesday. We also heard Friday. I'm presuming next Friday. And then but there are still people down there with no place to go, and they have some of need their trailers towed, because while most of them are RVs, a number of them are just trailers. So that's an ongoing situation. I also spoke with Sadie regarding purple bags, and I requested that I get a box of purple bags, and she contacted somebody and then handed me a box. So, and then we can report the purple bags when we see them on the streets through the 211 app. There's a button for it already, apparently, in the app. So I now will be handing out, and I was with the water, I was also offering purple bags. So that's something that it looks like we can do if anybody else is interested in that. I have feelings that I can't communicate very well with words right now. I feel like handing out water isn't enough, but it's what we can do. Thanks.
Thank you, Courtney. And I think a lot of us have very similar feelings. So I see a hand up at the Emergency Operations Center.
Yeah, Rob, I just want to make a point on the trash bags. That was something that we talked about on Tuesday. And, it's like a cause and effect. We at the OC, I say we, the OC is handing out water. So is it part of our responsibility to make sure when we hand out water, we hand out bags? We talked about that on Tuesday, and so it is going to be a part of the.
Oh, you muted yourself there.
Hit the wrong key, sorry. So it's going to be going on the after action report. Hopefully the next time we'll be able to. One of the key things is that we have to exhaust our resources first. In other words, if the coalition runs out of bags, basically we don't have them, so we're out, okay? Then we can acquire bags through the EOC for this event. So it'll be on the radar next time.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mike. Zoe, you have your hand up.
Hi, everyone. Just wanted to speak a little bit to Kathy and Anna's questions. One, just want to remind people that there are community groups that are not nonprofits that are out in the streets many times a week and are doing a lot of work on this front. The group that I'm with, in addition to handing out water, hands out stuff like electrolyte drinks, sunscreen and aloe, popsicles, definitely bags of ice and coolers to the folks, to the camps that don't have them. Many of them do have coolers that the camp shares. Cooling towels when we can get our hands on them. We've got a pretty comprehensive list of supplies we collect for a heat response. And to that effect, we groups like mine and several others rely entirely on donations. We don't take grants. We don't take any money. It's just direct community donations. So I'm with Tacoma Mutual Aid Collective. There are groups like Serve the People and Food Not Bombs, the People's Assembly that are doing this work, not just doing heat events, but also do mobilize specifically for that. You know, we'd love to get more people involved. But yeah, just a reminder that there are people working outside the system and that sometimes that provides a much easier path to helping folks without all of those restrictions.
Thank you for that, Zoe, and thank you so much to what you're doing and what your organization and similar organizations are doing. I noticed in the chat Richard making the observation that he's seen a number of unaffiliated folks out handing out water around the city while he's been out, and it does warm the heart that folks are caring about people they're seeing alongside the streets and in their neighborhoods. Ariana, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch a little bit on the issue with not passing out, the trash bags. This week, Homeless Outreach with CLR, we were able to get lots of food donations from food banks. And so we really focused on creating bags. That's the way it's easier to get folks lots of things and really trying to limit how much trash is getting out on the grounds and things like that. We got frozen strawberries and trying to work on a way to freeze water bottles too. That way they're not, room temp when we're passing those out as well.
Great. And thank you for that work as well. So any last items that folks want to share about what they're seeing on the streets this week? Okay. So I appreciate everyone's efforts. Oh, Courtney, I see your hand up.
Thanks. I forgot to mention that when I first picked up water, I was told from the stability site, one person told me I was only allowed 4 bundles of water bottles. But the next set of people when I went back, they just started piling them into my vehicle as full as I could. And so there's variance in what people understand. I saw in the comments already today that once it hits 85 degrees, they're handing out water, where I hear that it's supposed to be anytime temperature is projected to hit 85 in the next, 48 hours or something, we should have water available to us. So there needs to be a consistency, a precise message that is distributed to all our providers and distribution centers. So it does seem like they got the first person who told me only 4 bundles, she was the last person I saw the last time I went for pickup, and she didn't have a 4 limit. She just then asked me how many I was taking. And so even in just a couple of days, it seemed like some level of community education had happened, but I don't think it's complete. Thank you.
Yeah, and we heard during the daily hot weather response calls similar situations, Courtney. So you're not the only one who experienced that. I see Caleb's hand has gone up, so I'll let Caleb address the question.
Courtney, yeah, we did let the CCS know about there's not an actual limit that people can take. And that's just because of how people do outreach in a different way. Some of our outreach providers, or some of you all, do a lot more quantity than others. And so, you know, there's not really a specific way that we want to be able to have that. And then secondly, we did talk about this on the first day of 48 hours. The first time we did the response, it was done on a Sunday and Monday, and because the concern around response time, we decided to get 48 hours. We are taking that suggestion seriously. So I think in the future, hopefully we can make sure that that's communicated effectively, that in 48 hours of anticipated time, we can implement that response. So thank you for that feedback, Courtney. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Caleb. So if folks have other questions or concerns that they'd like to address, please drop those in the chat. Again, as a reminder, the chat is really a living document. We post the chat every week on the website. So it's meant to be an ongoing tool and resource for people in this community who are doing outreach and advocacy. So please use that. And let's move to our next item in the agenda, and I see that Jennifer Ammons has turned her camera on. So Jennifer, you wanted to do a community spotlight for the Northwest Justice Project, so welcome.
Thank you. So I am a staff attorney with the Northwest Justice Project. I've been attending this coalition for many years, actually, but here and there, you know, there are enough new members that we thought it might be a good idea for me to tell you again, what is NJP? So Northwest Justice Project is, and I've put contact information in the chat, it is the largest provider statewide of civil legal aid. So that's, we're not public defenders, we don't represent people in criminal cases. The other kinds of cases, that's what civil means. We served almost 26,000 people statewide in 2021. We do run the somewhat notorious clear intake line, notorious because it's hard to get through to. We've now implemented an option to apply online for services, and I put the link to that in the chat as well. We also run a fabulous website called Washington Law Help, which has thousands of packets telling people what their rights are, latest changes in the law, how to enforce their rights. It's got all the court forms you might need and line-by-line instructions on how to complete them. It's got sample letters you can send to employers or landlords. Excellent site. Anyone can access it. You don't need to be low income. You don't need to call us. Just go to the website. I am part of the local office that serves Pierce and Kitsap counties. We are located in downtown Tacoma, and we have a staff of somewhere in the vicinity of 18. We're down a couple legal assistants right now, but working on filling that. We are mostly working remotely, but we do have several attorneys and at least one legal assistant in the office at all times between 9 and 5 on weekdays. We're not always open to walk-ins, so just be aware of that. If you send somebody down, they might not be able to talk to anybody. I'll get more to that, to how to contact us in a minute. We serve, we do a lot of different types of cases. We do some landlord-tenant, which includes particularly subsidized housing cases, tenants who are living in hotels and have been for a while. We are pretty good at determining whether they qualify as a tenant and are entitled to those protections. The same for people who live in RVs, in mobile home parks. A lot of times the parks will try to get away with saying, oh, we're just an RV park, so we don't have to provide people with all those protections, the law says. And so a lot of times they're dead wrong. We also help with consumer cases like collection defense, or where someone has been sold a car that turns out to be a lemon. We do family law. We do some reentry work, helping people who have lost professional licenses, driver's licenses, who need help with LFOs or with vacating some convictions. We do help with public benefits as well, where people have been terminated or denied public benefits, including those from the state and those from the federal government, and really should be getting those benefits, which would make a huge difference to their ability to be housed. We serve people who are low income. That's usually up to about 200% of federal poverty level. We also serve seniors, regardless of whether they fall within that cap. We are limited to serving people who are documented in some form, immigration-wise, or who need assistance to escape or recover from domestic violence or human trafficking. So if there's DV involved, ignore the immigration requirement. We will probably be able to figure out how to serve them. To get services, CLEAR is still the front door. I highly recommend that people apply online if they can at this point. The agency I'm with, if that contact was directed at me, is Northwest Justice Project, NJP for short. So it is a lot easier to get services if you apply online. You get a call back from someone on the screening line and you get to talk to an attorney. If you try to get through to CLEAR, it can be very frustrating. Very frustrating. If calling CLEAR or applying online there's too many barriers for someone, we do want to work with someone to get them the help that they need. And so you're welcome to contact our office or me personally to try to arrange either a direct intake, or they can use our phone at our local office to talk to CLEAR as well. We recognize that there are particular barriers for people who are experiencing homelessness. In particular, they may not have a phone that is charged and has minutes so that they can talk to anyone on over the phone or online. So we are interested in developing a direct referral process from agencies or individual staff, and also in hearing more about what are the specific legal needs that you all are seeing among people experiencing homelessness in Pierce County. What are the barriers that you are encountering that we might be able to help with? So we are actually looking to sit down with a handful of people to hear about those legal issues and talk about how we can do smoother, easier referrals. So please let me know if you'd like to be part of that sit down, and I'll be setting it up after I get back from vacation. I'll be out next week. I am also always happy to consult about whether we can help and how to get a client to us. Email is usually the best way to reach me. So let's see.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. Any questions for Jennifer? Any folks would like to ask? Just use the raise hand function. Teresa.
I just want to make a comment. Some of you have been new to the coalition, so you may not know that Jennifer kept this coalition together with her fingernails for a few years when things were really scarce. And she's done an amazing job throughout the years of being constant, caring about this work, and it's really nice to have her back again. And the work the group, it's a great group, does good work. I'm always referring people to you, so thank you for that.
Thanks, Teresa. And I am here most Fridays unless I have court or another commitment.
Yes, you are. Kathy, I see your hands up as well.
I am unmuted, yes. My question to Jennifer is kind of one of jurisdiction. So when people send the Tacoma Tenants Union a message on our Facebook page, our auto response refers people to some community services, Northwest Justice Project, Tacoma Pro Bono. And so I would just like a little bit of clarification about where we want to route people to, if that makes sense.
That is the million-dollar question. With funding, there's been a ton of additional funding provided in recent years. And so that's a little bit up in the air. Thankfully, Tacoma Pro Bono and NJP do a pretty good job of getting people back and forth to where they need to go. TPB handles all of the eviction defense in this community. So if you come up with someone who needs eviction defense work, they've got a notice or a summons and complaint, send them directly to Tacoma Pro Bono. Otherwise, we both do a lot of the same work.
Okay.
We do more direct representation in areas other than housing than Tacoma Pro Bono is able to. Also, specific issues that seem really weird, they don't come up a lot, and big cases like we got contacted about Meridian Mobile Estates because we have statewide, we've been able to save a couple of mobile home parks because NJP has the greater resources and the greater knowledge because there are like 200 of us attorneys in NJP. I would say other than the the eviction defense program, you really can direct people to either, and we will try to get them to whoever's more appropriate.
Thank you so much. That kind of sort of clears that up. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
We're always talking about that.
Right? Right? Okay. So I'm not alone. That's validating enough. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions for Jennifer? There might have been a couple in the chat that maybe you can respond to individually, Jennifer, while you were talking. But I want to say thank you, and thank you for the work that you do and for being willing to talk to the group this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And feel free to email me with questions.
Great. All right. So we have already surpassed the times for oh, wait, just a moment. Anna, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, I do appreciate somebody putting in that the stability site is passing out water once it hits 85 degrees. My stupid question, is it open on the weekend? For people, for agencies to pick up water to pass out on weekends? Because as you said.
It is.
Okay, great.
Yep.
It's going to be
and
hot
Caleb
as
has.
well.
Yeah, definitely.
It was just told 9 to 4. They'll be
9 to 4.
9 to 4 over the.
And that information is, Yep.
Right.
And that information is posted on the coalition website. So what I was about to say is I was going to do a quick tour of the coalition website, but since we are behind on our agenda, I think I would like to move on to the next item. And we will do a quick tour of the coalition website next week. What I will say is do visit pchomeless.org. It is the centralized location for everything from notes related to these meetings, links to these meetings posted on YouTube, transcripts, all the chat. And then when we're in the middle of a situation like this hot weather spell, we turn on a little alert at the top of the page and link to resources that folks can use. So please do visit the site, give it a look, and we'll take a look at it all together next week. So let's shift over to, speaking of, well, last week. Let's look back at what we talked about during our breakout last week. And Timothy, would you be willing to share?
I certainly would.
Okay, I'll bring up the document for you.
Appreciate that. And I will drop this thing. Come on, baby. Yep. I'll do it. I'll do it in a minute. I'll drop it in the chat as well. So last week we talked about different ways the coalition members can respond to ongoing sweeps. A lot was said. The bulk of the comments were around the idea of how do we support people in the encampments, and there were a lot of ideas in that. A lot of it is stuff that's already, some of it's stuff that's already happening, some of it's stuff that's suggestions for what we can do going forward. There was an idea about using the 311 and 911 lines to not just report encampments, but to report people that are out there in distress, as a way of getting people the help they need, possibly, or at least documenting it. Advocating for safe spaces to go after the sweeps. This is not a new idea, but it's a good one. And, you know, that's always the big question, right? Where are people supposed to go? So it would be a big step forward, being able to provide advice around that. Continue witnessing, that came up a number of times. That is really important, so people know that they're not alone. Political responses came up a few times as well, and the groups contacting local officials, government agencies to speak out against the sweeps. And also a comment comes later down about, you know, voting accordingly and trying to get people in office that can do better. Several ideas around Know Your Rights campaigns, making sure that people are informed about their options, getting information out there. Several ideas about resource maps, places where people can go, places, there's resource map ideas around like water and toilets and things like that. And there's also resource map ideas around alternatives for small sites, trying to redistribute the campers so that it's less in big sites that are going to attract attention and distributed into smaller sites that might be able to go longer without being bothered. A tip sheet for people, tip sheets for people that have to move on and again, lessen their chances of being seen. And then there was a bit of discussion about supporting affected businesses and other neighbors, and basically trying to find common cause with folks who are being affected by this, by folks that are out camping, sometimes on their property or around their property. A lot of times folks are very sympathetic, but they don't know what else they can do besides sweeps. So there's ways that we can work with that. There was a kind of a constellation of ideas around outreach to businesses, doing mediation with possible, trying to deal with just some of the immediate issues that they're dealing with. Trash bags, sharps containers, hooking up with the purple bag program, things like that. A lot of, some people were talking about the issue of what to do with garbage. Can community groups get free dumping to be able to help with the trash issue, not have that come out of pocket. Building alliances with affected property owners. Again, this idea that there are mutual interests there that can be explored and perhaps, find some kind of, what am I trying to say? Some kind of like political common cause where we're working together. And then there was a property owner in one group who, gave some pretty specific detail around frustrations that they were having on their property. And again, this is somebody who is entirely sympathetic and on our side, but he's saying, there's some crazy consequences just to owning property that people are camping on. And then there was a whole section about just escalating the tactics and, being more supportive of people being swept and kind of upping the heat on the sweeps. An idea about doing a Facebook Live for the sweeps. Several ideas about just getting lots of people out there to witness the sweeps and protest the sweeps. And kind of a constellation of ideas about more physical, confrontational protest strategies that are being done in some other communities, including an idea of camping outside of the mayor's house. So that's pretty much the rundown. Diverse set of ideas, a lot of good stuff to look at.
Thank you for that, Timothy. And Zoe, I see you have your hand up. And if you're speaking, you are muted.
Thank you. I sure
No problem.
was. I put it in the chat, and thank you for your response there. I just wanted to kind of elevate it to the group. 911 is an absolutely last recourse. Folks that are homeless are in extreme danger from the police. A police presence at their camps will really mess things up. Someone in crisis is at a very high risk for violence, especially if they're a person of color. What was I going to say? And moreover, bringing cops through scatters people that may be concerned about their immigration status or having a warrant or any number of things. Something that was in that list about the know your rights stuff that has come up a lot is police demanding that information or using sweeps as an excuse to try and find out if anybody has a warrant or harass them in any way. And the kind of know your rights piece, especially that was what I was going to say, to the, I'm sorry, I'm completely blanking on your name that just spoke about the legal resources. I would love to see folks educated about what their rights are during a sweep in terms of their property, and some support for them to pursue that. We get constant video of police, slashing tents so that they can't be used, throwing away, like Tacoma PD tried to throw away my wheelchair once while I was homeless. Yeah, for real. It's really bad. I always support filming and letting people know what's really going on. Trying to think if there was something else. I think that's all I had to say. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Zoe. So thank you, as always, Timothy, for that summary. And now we get to create the need for yet another summary. So it's time to go into this week's breakout conversation. So as you may know, at the end of every Friday's meeting, we have a small group of us, usually the same folks, who get together for a few minutes to try to plan the next meeting or two. And we thought we should lean on the wisdom of this much larger group in today's breakout conversation, and ask folks what resources or speakers would you like to hear from in future coalition meetings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break everybody into small rooms of 5 or so folks. Let me set those up, and we will spend the next 15 minutes with an opportunity. There's two goals in this. One, you may end up paired with folks in your room who you haven't interacted with before, so use the opportunity to get to know each other. But then also have this conversation about what we think we would like to see at future meetings, or who we would like to see featured at future meetings, and someone take notes and then paste those into the chat when we return here. So we'll start now, and we will come back here at 10:10 for the next items on the agenda. Hope everybody has a good conversation. Welcome back, everyone. I hope that was a fruitful conversation. Everybody got to know each other a little bit, and somebody took notes in each of your rooms so that we can share them so that Timothy can do a summary for next week. Those notes are the key to the good work that Timothy does every week. So please put those in the chat, and we will move on to the next items in our meeting. Next up, we have government updates, and that gives me an opportunity to hand it off to Caleb from the city of Tacoma.
Hello, everyone. Just a couple of updates. One big one is that my department is actually in the process of hiring MA2s. It actually closes on the 1st, so you do have the weekend to look it over, and I'm going to post that in the chat. And the MA2s would work. One MA2 would specifically work under the homeless services department, and then the other one would work under social community. They call it community wellness. And those are 2. So we're hiring 3 positions for that. And those positions specifically focus around data management, outcomes, and performance measurements. It's less it's not boots on the ground type of work, but it is supporting data collections, outcomes, and whether our programs are being effective, and continuing to measure consistency across the board so that we can start talking about what programs are being really effective within the city and how we can adapt and change to really this dynamic way of doing this work and with this population and serving, in the correct way. So we are hiring 3 positions for that, and it really is to support the entire department. So all 3 positions, but who your supervisor is one of them would be me, and then the other 2 would be Vicki McLaurin, who is my counterpart with community wellness. So I will post that job opportunity in the chat, and you have until the 1st to apply for that. Secondly, just as an update on the inclement weather, we were able to, so far, what we've been reported is 10,000 water bottles that we were able to pass out, which is around 250 cases, but I think we're well above that right now. That's only about 5 pallets, and I think we are doing about 9 or 10 so far in this inclement weather. We do still have plenty of water at the stability site, so for coalition members, please feel free to join the outreach providers over the weekend if you can, to help folks who are experiencing homelessness, that vulnerable population. So thank you all for the work that you all do. I am here though for any questions if you need for anything else.
Thank you, Caleb. Any questions for Caleb or the city of Tacoma? Not seeing anybody raise a hand, but do remember you can use the chat. So thank you. Next up would normally be Jeff Rogers from Pierce County Human Services. Jeff had another meeting with the Emergency Operations Center, the folks at the Department of Emergency Management. So he let me know that most of the information, the conversation we had about water distribution and the hot weather response earlier covered what updates he would have had. So I've appreciated him letting me know he needed to leave. Valerie, do you have any updates related to Pierce County rental assistance?
Sure. Just a reminder that the rental assistance portal is closing at 5 a.m. Monday morning our time. So if you've got folks who are COVID impacted and still need to apply, they have this weekend to get it done. We did put out a message online, social media, the website, like we tried to get it really out there. And also as far as spending, because someone will email me this later. As of today, we have spent $153,363,557, which served just over 20,000 households to prevent eviction. So still going. We still have about 26 million left to go, which is about 20% of our budget. And so we'll get that out the door in the next couple months. Just huge shout out. I know Jennifer and I chat a lot. Lori and her whole team at Tacoma Pro Bono and our 9 amazing nonprofits are just killing it. That does not include the city of Tacoma money, which is they are also on track to spend every dollar of their funding as well in the next couple months. So they're doing a phenomenal job as well. So just really excited to get these dollars out the door and be done with this portion of COVID response. And then our notice of funding availability for the permanent program will open. Our goal is to open it in August. So I'll make sure the coalition has that as soon as it's available as well.
Thank you, Valerie. Any questions for Valerie? All right, not seeing any. Excuse me. So I know Jenny is unable to be here. She was out distributing box fans for the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department. Adam is here from the Health Department. Adam, is there anything you wanted to update?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So as Rob mentioned earlier, the weather forecast is still 90s through the weekend. So please take care of yourselves as you're doing all your awesome work out there. We will be monitoring the situation through Monday is the health department's kind of plan right now for our kind of off normal activation is what we call it. Jenny and some of my other colleagues as we speak are out distributing box fans and air purifier filters to go along with those box fans to various family shelters. And just one thing I wanted to add about that, we maxed out everything we had. We were giving them, clearing out our inventory, clearing out everything we were able to purchase. But I'm sure there's still a need. So if you are, especially if you're a family shelter, we do kind of have a prioritization list that I'm not super familiar with offhand. But if you are operating a shelter or serving populations and you are in want or need of box fans for your individual rooms or community rooms, please reach out and we can get you on at least a waiting list, if not something sooner, if more funding comes through quickly. And I'll put my contact information in the chat for that. So just for the weekend too, our Tacoma, the health department's heat resources, our tip sheets are still available on the pchomeless.org website on the hot weather resource page. So please check those out too if you just need some tips on how to take care of yourself and others and things to look out for signs of illness. And then not related to that, but something that just came into my inbox last night, our PPP parenting and family support schedule for the next round was just released. This is a support system designed to prevent and help treat behavioral and emotional problems with children. Parenting support classes, basically. And I will be adding information for that to the chat as well.
Thank you, Adam. And I wanted to let folks know that Jenny is also told me that she will be sending her regular Friday email out to the email list. So if you're on the email list, you'll get all of those updates that she does every week. And so that will be coming later this afternoon. Let's see. Next on our list, I don't believe we have anybody from. Well, we do have emergency management on the line. We've heard from the EOC twice today, so appreciate that. I don't think there's any additional updates right now that I'm aware of. So good. All right, so let's shift on to our advocacy update for this week, and I'll be pretty brief.
Rob, can I jump in for a second before we switch topics?
Yeah, go ahead, Zoe.
Hi, everyone. I'm also with the health department. I work directly with Jenny. This will be in her notes, but one big thing that I want to emphasize is that there's a new COVID vaccine that has been approved and is becoming available. It's called Novavax. It is not an mRNA vaccine. So if you're talking to anyone about COVID and hear the concern about mRNA, there is a new option. It is very effective and safe. And we're trying to get the word out that option is now available. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. All right. So moving on to advocacy updates. I have perused what is available online for the city of Tacoma. The big action that's taken place this week, and it's part of a multi-week process, is to appoint a new city council member. And so there's a lot of activity around that, including a special meeting that's taking place. Can't remember if that was Monday, I think, to help winnow down the number of applicants to get to a final selection for that city council position. So there's a lot of preoccupation with that. The other items that are on the agenda for either the study session on Tuesday or for the regular Tuesday night meeting don't directly pertain to the work that we're doing right now. However, I do urge, if people have the time to listen in and learn about what is being discussed, especially during the other items sections that come up at the study session, can be a great way to find out if there are items coming up that will be worthwhile to be engaged in to advocate for people who are homeless in our community. As always, the Pierce County Council agenda will be posted later today, so I will peruse that as well. I don't want to put you on the spot, Councilmember Mello, but are you aware of anything that is coming up in the next week that would be of interest to our group?
At the Human Services Committee meeting on Tuesday morning, there's a presentation from Comprehensive Life Resources about the MCERT program that to provide behavioral health services on the streets. That might be of interest to the group.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you for being here this morning. And so that's where we're at in terms of advocacy items. I did send, just looping back to my day job with the Washington Low Income Housing Alliance, I did send out a link to the Out of Reach report that's put together by the National Low Income Housing Coalition. I sent that to the mailing list yesterday. If you do have an opportunity over the weekend to take a look at that, it is really informational and very directly related to the work that we do, in terms of laying out how the gap between the cost of housing in our state and in our community and the wages that folks are earning in our community. The high level overview is that the wage that somebody needs to earn per hour in order to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in Washington State is $31.33. That's up from $29 and some change last year. So that we all know what that means. That of course is a pretty good level of pay for a lot of folks, and most folks in our community don't make money at that level. So if you get an opportunity, please do take a look at that report. It's a worthwhile read. Yeah, and I see you and hear you there, Timothy, with your rent increase. I think everyone is experiencing that at this time. So that's it for this week's advocacy update. Jan, would you like to do a Safe Sites for All update? Or can you, since you're in the EOC?
Well, even at the EOC, we get to take a break once in a while. Yes, I'd love to see everybody show up at the Monday noon Zoom meeting. Go to our website to register. We're going to do a debrief of what folks saw when they were on the streets during the heat emergency. And then also safe parking is very much alive and growing. And it needs this group, the Monday group, to gather together and be smart about the new funding that's coming our way and to be as supportive as possible with New Hope, the agency that has the contract to make it happen. So come together and we'll talk weather and we'll talk parking lots.
Great. Thank you, Jan. And next on the agenda, any coalition committee updates? Yeah, Rosemary.
I don't have reports so much from the committees, but for anyone interested in things about governance and how we might add to our ability to work with each other, the governance work group meets on Wednesday mornings right now at 9 o'clock and will be posted. And the race and equity group meets on the third Thursday of the month at 3 o'clock. So we welcome people who have interest in both of those areas to join us for work that you think needs to be done. So that's it for today.
Thank you, Rosemary. And that also reminds me, we'll shift now into our Good Trouble announcements. And one of the best announcements that we can offer is a reminder that this next week on Thursday at 4 p.m., we will have our ongoing monthly networking social hour taking place, this time back at 7 Seas in Brewery and Tap Room in downtown Tacoma. So that information about it is posted on the pchomeless.org website. So please take a look at that. And I hope that we can see a number of folks outside of these tiny boxes once again on Thursday afternoon with an opportunity to eat and talk and get in real space. Any other announcements for the good of the order that folks want to share? And feel free to just raise your hand. You can even just unmute yourself if you'd like.
Hey, Lori, will you talk about the card?
Sure. Okay, we have 2,500 business cards that, hang on a sec. I realize my screen's reversed, but this is kind of what they look like. Extreme weather resources with the logo, with the website, and they're blank on the back so people can write stuff on them. So a CLR already asked for some. Anybody who wants some, I can drop them off. Or you can pick up from me.
Great. Fantastic resource. And that also makes me think of the latest edition of the Tacoma Tent News that you and Richard worked on. It's available. The hot weather edition is available with a link on the PC Homeless page. But thank you for that resource as well. I know that a lot of those have been handed out along with water during this hot spell. Sally, your hand's up.
So this is good news that people already know, but I want to amplify it. Garrett Nyland is a rock star, and we are so blessed to have him in our community and working on these topics. And I just want to salute him for everything he does in all the different aspects of what he does. That's all.
Yep, totally agree. Other items for the good of the order for folks.
Did we do a comprehensive plan update, Rob?
No, and we certainly can.
So what I would say, so the Comprehensive Plans Advisory Board is meeting on Friday, next Friday, from 1 to 3. And I think the core of that meeting is going to be the work to establish the unified regional approach. And so the county has hired and contracted with a consulting firm to do that work. And they are going to be in attendance at the meeting, talking about their game plan and their timeline and listening a lot about who it's important that they're engaging. So I'm excited about that getting moving. So that's and we'll have a press release with who it is and some more information coming out. But I wanted to let folks know that should be interesting. We'll record it, so it should be available if you're not able to make that time. Again, next Friday, August 5th, 1, 2, 3 o'clock.
And we can also do a more extensive update on the content from that meeting the following week at the next meeting of the coalition. That meeting does take place after next week's coalition meeting, so it'd be 2 weeks out. We would have that update for the full coalition.
The other thing I was going to say, then I'll be done. The comprehensive plan to end homelessness kind of feels like a big document, but it's a direction for our community. And recently, there's this public right-of-way money that the state has been putting forward, which is about $30 million in the first year, with like 14 or 12 million in following years. And a timeline that didn't really allow much of a public comment on the process. And so it's been really helpful to have the comprehensive plan, which was the public's roadmap for how we need to use money when it comes in, to guide that work. So I just kind of want to say how beneficial it's been that that's passed, all the work we're doing to bring money in, but also its utility as a way to direct funding. So there we are.
Garrett, a quick question on that. Do you have you heard an update or on the timeline of when the county will hear about its proposal to Commerce, and when there might be something to talk about, so there is another round of public comment?
Yeah, that is a great question. It's a fast timeline. Those would be John Barbie kind of questions, so probably worth bringing him on board so I don't shove my foot in my mouth. However, it is, that it's the $30 million is essentially set aside for Pierce County, and that use is basically permanent supportive housing. And so what we're proposing is acquiring a hotel for permanent supportive housing, but also some joint shelter rapid rehousing interventions, right? So immediate shelter coupled with, so probably a couple new facilities, some set-asides at existing. Hopefully by next Friday, we could do an update to this group on what that proposal is. That's not crazy. It's basically like, what would you do with $30 million according to the comp plan? And bam, that's kind of what we're looking at doing. I wish we had more time. So
yeah.
And I'll see if maybe John could come and present on that, or give me some marching.
Yeah, or if you can just give me a heads up when would be a good time to ask John to come, sure. Then that we can put that on the agenda. All right. Any other items for the good of the order? I do see Jesse Torres is still with us. Jesse, would you like to talk a little bit about why you joined us today? A little bit about what you do and what you may be able to offer for our community.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I'm Jesse Torres with Clean the World Foundation. I'll cut right to it. We provide porta potties and hand wash stations. We're partnered with and sponsored by the CDC Foundation. It's no cost to host sites, whether it's county or city property or private property. That's what we do. Clean the World Foundation, we are one of the departments within Clean the World organization. Clean the World started with, the founder started with recycling soap by partnering with hotels and motels in the hospitality industry. And so that site actually provides mobile hygiene units. So, I have connection to that. So that's a possibility. And I touched base with Caleb just a few minutes ago about that. We'll talk more about that possibility. But my main thing is, again, hand wash stations and porta potties. And again, completely funded by the CDC Foundation. I have, of course, flyers. I posted the link on the chat section so you can take more of a look into the CDC Foundation. Clean the World Foundation. We have requirements, host site requirements, like obviously located in places near or where people experiencing homelessness are. One of our challenges is in identifying and getting approval from whoever can authorize us to place our units on site. A lot easier when it's private. Of course, takes a little more digging otherwise.
Did you get my text?
Pardon me? Okay. We need access. Of course, we need access multiple times per day. We collect information by literally, we are counting number usage and both of the porta potties and the wash stations that's required in order for us to justify funding with the CDC. Yeah, so it's a simple process. Once we identify and get approval for whoever wants the service, we will do a memorandum of understanding, coordinate with the local vendor, and then get rolling after that. So the safe parking sites were brought up. Oh, by the way, we do have other program operating in other parts of the country right now, as well as the Dominican Republic, Denver, Orlando, and Las Vegas are our other 3 sites that are highly active right now. So yeah, I'd love to reach out and connect with anybody who's interested in this. Yeah, thanks. I'll stop there.
So I see a number of hands up, Jesse, and one thing I'd ask is if you could, again, put your information into the chat, that'd probably be helpful for folks to reach out to you directly. But let's start with the hands that are up. Richard.
I never imagined in my entire life that I would be so interested in something like a porta potty, but so it is for this. Jesse, it's very interesting to hear about this. Working out with the encampments where they pop up, the small encampments, I see a lot of traffic on social media, people talking about defecation and urination around them. And I've often, I sit and say, you know, get your neighbors together or businesses and rent a porta potty. You know, I mean, it seems like there's an answer to that problem, but it sounds like your foundation does some of this work. Is it a resource? I'd like to know more about it. And I guess if your information's in the chat, I can look that up there. But this is often one of the top, I mean, the whole encampment thing is a very complicated issue, but the issue of sanitation is one of the things that would make it more, I don't know, more tolerable to neighbors that are witnessing the behaviors that are going on. So it would be nice to know more about what you do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the intent is to reduce illness and the spread of disease by providing sanitation equipment and facilities. So yeah, let's connect. The organization is our executive director. In a nutshell, we want to be in alignment with SDG 6 wash station, their priorities and their vision for the future. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention somebody else. There was talk about T-shirts earlier, and we do have a T-shirt, and it says "Wash your hands, bro." If anybody's interested, let me know. Okay.
Very cool. Let's see, Zoe, you have your hand up.
Sorry, trouble unmuting there. Thank you so much for being here and for telling us about this. This is an issue my friends and I have been working on for several years in Tacoma without much progress. Two things. One, is this an option for folks with that just own their home, a small property, not a business, not a bigger thing, because I think we can probably find people that are interested. I know we've had interest from the public before. And then I'm wondering if this is an opportunity for collaboration with some of the business outreach that this group has been talking about and that I know we've been talking about at the health department. Yeah, just would love to connect more I'll shoot you an email. But,
Absolutely. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, we're looking to expand and figure out different ways to provide this service. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Homeowners and what do you mean with property? I'm assuming with a bit of property to put these stations.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry to point out the obvious, but okay, yeah, let's definitely talk about that. Yeah.
Great. And Teresa, you have your hand up.
I'm hoping that Jan is still on the call, but I want to say, I saw in the chat that you're invited to the Monday meeting, and I think it's a great idea. Probably not this Monday because we're doing the debriefing of the heat and we have a full agenda, but I wonder if you could come. Jan, pipe up if this doesn't work, but I'm wondering if you could come the next Monday and we could invite anyone else who's interested in knowing more about this to join us, or one of the future Mondays. So just
Teresa's absolutely right. The timing could not be better. We are exploring a new viable possibility right now. We've been given an opportunity to do something on private land. So the timing is perfect. So sir, I don't see your contact information in chat yet, but then there we go. All right. So hope to see you this Monday or the following Monday or any Monday after that. So thanks so much.
Great. Yes, I will attend. Please,
Great. We'll get you the information for the meeting.
Please do reach out, shoot me an email, give me a call so I can collect all the contact information, everybody's contact information. By the way, got a lot of discussion up in King County too, so we're well underway up there with those guys up there. Just to let you know, also I am brand new, and we are just getting a foothold here in the Pacific Northwest, and so it's we have the resources available. We're trying to right now in the budget. I'm looking at about trying to set up 15 sites, so it's up for grabs.
Great. Well, we're glad you found us, and thank you for putting your information in the chat. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that is pretty much it for the content for today's meeting. There is still space if folks have any specific success stories you would like to share. Anybody with a success story? And it's okay. I know we've had a very busy week doing outreach and water distribution. Patricia.
I just want to thank this coalition for a success story on getting the information out about the water and where it's going to be, even with the EOC and all the sites, so that the opportunity is out there. So just thank you everybody here for your contribution and collaboration.
Great. Thank you. And apologies for my multitasking there. So thank you everyone for attending this week. I hope everyone stays safe and can get some shade and out of the heat this weekend. Thank you again to everyone who's doing outreach and water distribution and all the good work. It really is making a big difference. Can't thank you enough. If you have an interest, there will be a small group of us here meeting in about 5 minutes in the same room to plan the upcoming meetings of the coalition. And if you need to go, it's been good seeing you, and we will see you all next week.